Good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending on when you're watching this, and welcome to this Montreal Canadiens post-game edition of Langerr at the mic. This will be a post-game show wrapping up Game 1 of the Montreal Canadiens versus Philadelphia Flyers game, in which the Flyers beat the Montreal Canadiens 2-1. Um, Honestly, like many other fans, that was probably one of the best losses the Canadiens have had ever. That was a good loss. That was a good playoff loss. A good playoff loss. Even though that probably doesn't exist or shouldn't exist because Canadians being the eighth seed, you know, being given no respect at all since these play in, and rightfully so because they're the 24th ranked team this entire qualifier playoff COVID whatever series of the NHL this year. Um, Yeah, so the Canadians are the underdogs, the pure underdogs, and embracing their role. And they just went toe to toe in a 60-minute hockey game with the number one seeded Philadelphia Flyers. They took them on toe to toe. And they made it a close game, a tight game, and an exciting game. And the difference was that the Flyers took buried the Canadians for their two mistakes, and the Canadians only buried the Flyers once for their mistakes, and that was the difference in the game because the Canadians just they skated hard, especially in the second period, especially late in the third period. They played again above their heads. They played. We saw a lot of what we saw in the Pittsburgh series, and it was very impressive. Young kids, Kotkaniemi, particularly Suzuki, performed. They played at the same level that they did in the Pittsburgh series. Carey Price played at the same level that he did in the Pittsburgh series. Maybe not as much as well as he did in Game 2, but he still played really well, and that save in the second period. Woo! Although with all that being said, one of my storylines from today was, did Price get outplayed by Carter Hart? I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but and this might be a horrible take, but it's just something to consider. Did Carey Price win the goaltending matchup tonight? That's up for discussion. Just a question. Now, anyway, we're gonna get into my notes here. So, um, first period, just here I'll look at my computer here instead of my phone because it looks nicer on my computer. Um, Look, the first period was very evenly matched for the most part. I mean, besides the shots on goal, I mean the Canadians I think they only managed four shots in the first period. So actually, sorry, it wasn't so evenly matched, but look, there was a couple of good shifts early on. The Gallagher line had a good early shift, especially they generated 2-on-1. And that's something I actually want to get into a little bit more in this show is that the Canadians actually, I found the Canadians had some decent odd man opportunities, more so in this game than the entire Pittsburgh series. And if that continues, then it just becomes a matter of finishing those odd man opportunities and not tripping over the blue line like Lehkonen. I mean, Lehkonen played a fantastic game from a work ethic and problem causing standpoint for the Flyers. I mean, Lehkonen played a hell of a game, but just yeah, that trip over the blue line in the second period there. We'll get to that. But even Armia, I found Armia came out really strong early on. He looked really good early on. He had a couple of decent scoring chances, and even the second period, which unfortunately um, just wasn't able to take advantage of. But also right away at the matchups, we saw right away Claude Julien was really keying in on the matchups and using the no line against the Couturier line as much as possible. But then I think Vigneault early on was trying to keep Deneau away from the top line, given that he had the last change. Um, and then that penalty by Drouin, like that slashing penalty early on in the or midway through the second period, that led to the Flyers goal, the Provanov goal from the blue line. I mean, look, Price had no chance on that one. Um, but yeah, just that unfortunately just put the Canadians a little bit behind the eight ball. When outside of that goal against, I think the Canadians played, even though they only got 4 shots on goal in the first period. I think the Canadians played as good as they could have played in the first period against the one-seeded Flyers, and and then that play by Derek Grant crashing into Carey Price there. Um, Look, Price obviously has the right to get upset and respond and cross check him in the face and defend his crease and all that. But you can't blame that on Derek Grant really because he just came in on a breakaway and you got to blame that on Xavier Ouellet playing out of position and you gotta ask Xavier Ouellet to play better defensively and be in better position to not allow Derek Grant the opportunity to come in all alone on Carey Price and fall into him or get knocked into him like that. So Xavier Ouellet has to be in better position there to prevent Derek Grant from crashing the net like that or from falling into or from by so Xavier Ouellet doesn't have to resort to knocking Derek Grant into Price. And also, I want to highlight the amazing hit on JVR by Shea Weber. Just James Van Riemsdyk, I think, is like 6'3", 210 or 220, whatever he is, or even 6'4", whatever he is. And Weber just made him look like a little kid. Weber put him down like he was disciplining his son or something. Just sit down. Nice hit by Weber there at the end of the first period. So yeah, so like I said, look, coming out of that first period, the Canadians, they played again. They were outplayed. I should have said they were evenly matched, but they were outplayed in the first period by the Flyers, which is to be expected. But they were a dumb Drouin penalty away from having it be 0-0 after one period against the number one seeded team, and then that set the stage for the second period where the Habs just basically went toe to toe with the Flyers, and honestly, I even think they outplayed them. I even think they know I know they outplayed them. The Canadians outplayed the number one seed Philadelphia Flyers in the second period because they were skating hard, they were forechecking, they were being difficult to play against in the offensive zone. They were causing turnovers, they were creating odd man rushes, they were clogging the neutral zone. They had the Philly D on their heels. And Suzuki in particular was up and down the ice in the offensive zone, defensive zone, sprawling everywhere, help friggin' putting his life on the line to protect the open net where Price just made a fantastic, absolutely fantastic save. And who would have thunk the Montreal Canadiens would have opened the scoring in the series with a power play goal? Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Canadians finally get a power play goal in these playoffs and qualifier series. And honestly, it was a really nice it was just a really nice setup play of them moving the puck around the zone. Again, getting a good look, not overdoing anything. And then when they got pucks to the net, they got traffic in front, and then the puck made its way to Weber, who had a wide open net, who showed, I think it was Scott Lockton, who was the victim of that Carey Price save. Yeah, Weber showed the Flyers how to shoot a wide open net, but again, just hats off to Carey Price for that save, man. That was like if you think of all the amazing saves that Price has made in his career, like that's got to rank definitely somewhere, at least maybe not in the top 5, but definitely in the top 10. It's got to be up there in the top 10 for sure, especially in the playoffs. But then right after that beautiful power play goal, Canadians finally score a power play goal. Finally, and what happens? Barely 15 seconds later, friggin' the one of the few critical turnover mistakes that the Canadians have made in their defensive zone between this game and the Pittsburgh series, between the 4 games of the Pittsburgh series, you haven't seen plays or misplays like this by the Canadians in the defensive zone. You've seen that in the regular season, sure. You've seen that by the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Columbus Blue Jackets on numerous occasions, but the Canadians just haven't made any boneheaded turnovers like until the one by between Ben Sherratt and Paul Byron, that mistimed zone exit there or succeed zone, whatever you want, whether it's Sherratt who should have banked it off the glass or Byron who was in the right position and expecting it and should have knifed it out of the zone or whatever. That was just really poorly done between Byron and Sherratt, and that just led to the shot from the point being deflected by Scott or no, it was sorry, it was Joel Farabee, not Lockton. It was Joel Farabee. Again, really nice deflection. Price made the first save, but he had little chance. But again, coming back to my storyline of was Price outplayed by not Corey Hart by Carter Hart. Look, I mean, we'll get to that a little bit later. But again, Price didn't have a chance on that goal. But yeah, just we'll get to that storyline a little bit later. But anyway, yeah, just a really unfortunate, very weak breakout attempt between Byron and Sherratt, and that can't happen. That's one of those mistakes that just can't happen in this series. If you're gonna get beat by the Flyers or if you're gonna get scored on, look, it's inevitable. You'll give up goals, but you can't give up goals that easily, that quickly, especially after you just work your butt off for a power play goal. And yeah, just overall, Canadians just didn't look out of place by any means at this point in the game. They were toe to toe with the Flyers, and they we'll get into that a little bit more. But if this is the way it's going to be throughout the series, look, it could go either way, honestly. And then in the third period, it took them a while to really get going in the third period consistently, at least. I mean, like at the beginning, you had Petrie and Kulak kind of again, just really not strong in terms of trying to get the puck out. And that led to a pretty good scoring chance for Philly. But you know what? Then the play continued with I found Lehkonen and Deneau just really showed their work ethic and them just continuing to work their butts off. I mean, overall that Deneau, Byron, and Lehkonen line just was strong overall, except for that second goal, of course. But it's at this point in the game where between watching and between following on social media, it's like, where's Thomas Tatar in all this? Where is where's Jonathan Drouin? I mean, you can maybe say Jonathan Drouin was a little bit looked a little bit more involved than Tatar, but just at this point in the game where you're down 2-1, and after the Pittsburgh series of low scoring games, and while you did come out on top in the Pittsburgh series, this is where you're starting to you got to start leaning more on your guys to score goals, right? Guys like Thomas Tatar, guys like Jonathan Drouin. I don't want to throw Gallagher in there so much. I mean, yeah, Gallagher. I mean, he assisted on that Weber goal, but Gallagher hasn't scored yet. But at least Gallagher, look, he was hurt, right? And he's still Gallagher. He's still being a pain in the butt. He's still skating as hard as he can. He's still making plays or generating plays as much as he can, even though he hasn't scored. But Tatar just was MIA tonight. Tatar was just MIA tonight, and we need more from Thomas Tatar. 100%. I'll get into that. I'll wrap that up a little bit more later, but just gonna get through my notes here. But yeah, just and this is where I think Claude Julien maybe was, you could argue, it was a little bit too little, too late with Max Domi finally moving up the lineup with Kotkaniemi and Drouin, and they actually generated some chances and offensive zone possession time. So maybe I don't know, maybe it's a good idea for a guy who led the team in points in the last, in 2 years ago, with 70 points, more than any other player on the team has scored in the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's a good idea to get him more involved offensively, maybe, right? Um, yeah, at this point, yeah, just a couple of other notes here. Thompson missed the wide open net, so to kind of steal, and I won't steal his tweet on Twitter, but yeah, just it was a moment where Thompson, I guess, thought he was still in the Canadians, just missed a wide open net. But anyway, um, and then yeah, just that I would say that crossbar by Suzuki, aside from the times that the Canadians have actually tied a game in the last minute. I mean, there's been plenty of times where obviously they haven't this year, but that was just a perfectly well executed play that Suzuki just missed by inches, just inches from sending the game to overtime. And yeah, like just that was so close, but still, Suzuki played a fantastic game. Suzuki kept it up from last series. He might have even taken his play up to another level. Kotkaniemi was also still strong, like aggressive, doing well against his matchups that were out there. It really just came down to two kind of missed plays that cost the Canadians against the number one team in the conference right now, which is really impressive. Which again, I think which comes down to the my two biggest takeaways in terms of why the Canadians lost tonight is, or at least why, not so much why they lost, but why they couldn't really get back into it, is the guys that are in the lineup whose sole purpose in the lineup is to score goals. I'm looking at Jonathan Drouin, Thomas Tatar, right? Gallagher, yes, but again, Gallagher at least is there to, as an emotional leader, and he forechecks, he defends, he does more than just score goals. So not so much Gallagher, but particularly Tatar and and Drouin, they got to start putting the puck in the net. Simple, or creating more offensively. We need more from them because if you look on paper, if you look at the Flyers, right? Strong team, strong roster. They have a deep forward group, right? Across all their 3 and 4 lines, they have 4 lines that they can roll of guys that are just skate hard. They're tough to play against, right? Especially when you see them putting Voracek in their middle six or their bottom six, right? Deep lineup of forwards. But you know what? They got Sean Couturier and they got Claude Giroux that can put the puck in the net, or that they rely on to put the puck in the net, and they do it, right? And even if they don't, well, yeah, okay. So they had Farabi and they got that goal from Provenov, but still, Couturier and Giroux were all over the ice. Giroux rung one off the post in the third period or the second period, or whatever it was. So they have those two guys in their lineup where if all else fails, you know that they're going to generate something for them, right? So my point is with this is the Canadians very similar, right? They have the Canadians' strength, or the good thing about the Canadians forward group is that they're 3 lines deep at least. I mean, even the fourth line, if you have Domi on the fourth line, if maybe you could have a little bit more of that fourth line, but still, they have 4 lines that they can roll pretty much, right? And that they can be not a complete liability out there, and they're middle heavy is what I'm saying. The Canadians are, right? But those 2 guys or 3 guys that you just, if you need a goal that you want to see more, that you're counting on them to score goals when you need a goal, right? They gotta deliver. They gotta produce, and that's what we need to see more of. Because you survived. It worked against Pittsburgh, right? Where Tatar didn't score, Gallagher didn't score. Again, still, I don't want to throw Gallagher too much in that mix, but Drouin only got 1 goal, right? Armia didn't score. Could put Armia in there. It's that you got through Pittsburgh without them scoring, but I almost guarantee you're not going to get through Philly without them scoring. You're not going to get through the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference without them scoring. So, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what type of adjustments that Claude Julien makes for Game 2. I always like to also, again, pull out a couple of other stats here while, my internet's just really bad. Oh, that makes sense. I'm connected outside. Just looking at some ice time stats here. Just don't mean to do this again while live. Here. Just interested to see what the ice times were. There we go. So let's see. So we had Domi, again, always looking at Domi's ice time. Okay, 14 minutes. Played 14 minutes. Dano naturally played the most at 20:59. Kotkaniemi only played 12 though. So that's where, again, like maybe if you put Kotkaniemi with guys that are more, that give you more than Armia and Drouin on a shift-to-shift basis, if they're not putting the puck in the net, maybe you'd want to see more of that. Maybe Claude Julien will adjust to that in the next game, Drouin played 15 minutes. Domi played 14, and Weiss played only 7, of course. Who else was it? Belzil. Belzil played only 9, right? Armia only played 11. So, again, just really relying on those top guys, ice time-wise. But, yeah, it'll just be interesting to see if what kind of changes are made. I personally think it's time to put Domi on the left wing right now. I'd say it's time to put Domi as a left winger, not because he's not good at center, but just because of Kotkaniemi and you want Kotkaniemi and Dano and Suzuki to stay where they are, and you want to give your best guys a chance to succeed and produce for you. So you know what, if Tatar doesn't want to be interested in producing or in contributing offensively, well, you know what, move him down, put Domi up there, left wing. So you have Domi, you have Suzuki, and you have Gallagher. Why not? Just roll them together as a line, Make that maybe more of a thing going forward. And if Tatar wakes up, then sure, put him back up there. But we need to see more from the guys that are expected to score goals and generate things offensively in this lineup and not have it. So yeah, that'll be it for this post-game show. I wanted to do this live, but Just had a couple of things to tend to immediately after the game, so unfortunately I didn't get a chance to go live. So yeah, so if you like, again as usual, if you like my commentary, then like my videos, subscribe to my channel, right? Follow me here on Twitter at Mike Langerr and on Instagram at Mike Langerr. Again, links in the description below. And this has been a Montreal Canadiens post game show. And oh, Cowboys news during the game. Everson Griffin, baby, let's go. Great signing. I'll break that down in another video, hopefully tomorrow or sometime soon. But yeah, this has been a Montreal Canadiens post game show edition of Langerr at the mic. Thank you for watching, and see you again next time.